I speak to you today with feelings of profound sorrow.
I never imagined that fewer than 4 minutes could leave an entire nation speechless. Yet that was exactly what happened when Prince William and Princess Catherine stood together inside Windsor Castle to deliver a message that would change the future of the British monarchy. This wasn't just another royal announcement. It was a son's acceptance of responsibility, a father's final request, and the beginning of one of the most emotional chapters in royal history. As William stood before the cameras, he remained calm, but the emotion behind his composed expression was impossible to hide. Catherine stood quietly beside him, offering silent support. Her presence alone spoke louder than words. In William's hands was a sealed declaration prepared by King Charles after learning that his health had reached a critical stage. Every line reflected duty, family, and the future of the crown. The declaration revealed that King Charles had asked William to assume greater royal responsibilities whenever illness prevented him from carrying out his duties. This wasn't about replacing the king, it was about ensuring stability and protecting the monarchy during a difficult time. William then revealed something that surprised everyone. There was a second sealed page, but he refused to disclose its contents. He explained only that it contained a deeply personal request from his father, one meant solely for the royal family. That revelation sparked endless questions. What had King Charles written? Why was it still secret? Behind the official announcement was a family carrying enormous emotional burdens. William wasn't only preparing to become the future king, he was watching his father slowly fade. Catherine wasn't simply supporting her husband. She had accepted the responsibility of holding the family together, protecting William, their children, and relationships that had been strained for years. Queen Camilla faced her own heartbreak, watching the man she loved grow weaker while realizing many future decisions would soon be beyond her influence. And King Charles himself faced the one thing no monarch could ever control: time. Before making the announcement, William had spent hours reading his father's declaration. One handwritten sentence stayed with him: "Do not wait until I become weaker." Those words weren't permission. They were a father's final plea. William struggled with the impossible choice. Accepting responsibility while his father was still king could easily be misunderstood. Refusing, however, could leave the monarchy vulnerable during one of its most fragile moments. Catherine reminded him that accepting responsibility wasn't abandoning his father. Those simple words gave William the strength he needed. Meanwhile, Camilla received her own copy of the declaration. One sentence deeply affected her: decisions regarding the transfer of royal authority should remain free from personal influence. She wasn't angry, she was heartbroken. She quietly wondered whether Charles had written those words before or after speaking with William. Later that night, Princess Anne visited Charles. During their conversation, the king asked one important question: "Has William read the second page?" And silence answered everything. Weeks earlier, during a private family dinner, tensions had already begun to surface. Discussions about future responsibilities turned into disagreements. Camilla believed important decisions should continue through the king's household. William worried that uncertainty could weaken the monarchy. Charles listened silently until he realized something important. William wasn't acting out of ambition. He was thinking like the future king because circumstances had left him no alternative. That very night, Charles instructed his private secretary to prepare an official declaration. But after everyone left, he personally wrote the second page by hand. It contained no constitutional orders. It wasn't about power. It was about family. Charles asked William and Catherine to arrange one final gathering with Camilla, Anne, Harry, and the rest of the family because he refused to leave this world while resentment remained stronger than love. Days later, Camilla privately confronted William. She asked whether he had helped write the declaration. William immediately replied, no. When she questioned whether accepting authority meant replacing his father, William explained that honoring the king's decision wasn't replacing him, it was respecting his wishes. He then revealed something no one else knew. Before accepting the responsibility, his father had whispered one sentence: "Don't let my weakness become the nation's weakness." Hearing those words changed everything. Camilla admitted her greatest fear wasn't losing influence, it was losing the man she loved. Soon afterward, constitutional advisors began preparing William for additional responsibilities. Even then, William refused to sit in his father's chair during official meetings, making it clear that Charles remained king. Princess Anne insisted on one condition: Camilla must always be treated with respect and kept fully informed. William agreed immediately and promised every important decision would still be explained personally to his father. The second page, however, carried no legal authority. It was simply a father's final wish. Whether the family healed or remained divided would depend entirely on them. Then came the news Charles had been hoping for. Harry agreed to return. The family gathering would finally happen. There were no cameras, no officials, no speeches, only family. Inside the room, Charles looked at each of them before explaining why he had brought everyone together. It wasn't to discuss succession. It was to heal old wounds. He admitted placing enormous responsibility on William without always giving him the reassurance he needed. William confessed that preparing for the crown had often made him feel guilty, as though being ready somehow meant wishing for the day his father would no longer reign. Charles reached across the table, held his son's hand, and gently reminded him, accepting tomorrow never means wishing today away. He then turned to Harry. He didn't demand forgiveness. He simply admitted he didn't want their final memories to be filled with silence. Harry confessed guest he had returned believing the declaration was an order. Charles smiled gently. It wasn't an order. It was a father asking. In that moment, years of tension began to fade. Camilla accepted William's new responsibilities. William promised she would always remain beside Charles as his devoted wife. Catherine became the quiet bridge that held everyone together. Before ending the meeting, Charles requested one final family dinner, with no discussions about duty or succession. Just family. Outside the palace, news spread quickly. Crowds gathered in silence, leaving flowers and handwritten messages of support. One small card simply read, "Thank you for staying brave." When William shared those words with his father, Charles asked, "Were they afraid?" William smiled. "No, they were grateful." Over the following weeks, William accepted greater responsibility while ensuring his father's dignity remained untouched. Catherine kept every member of the family informed, preventing misunderstandings. Camilla devoted all her time to Charles. Harry spent precious moments with his father away from cameras, and carefully preserved the king's handwritten second page. Later, William brought George, Charlotte, and Louis to visit their grandfather. Charles didn't speak about crowns or succession. He simply reminded them that the crown only mattered when it brought people together, not when it drove them apart. As William quietly returned his father's fountain pen to the desk, he realized something profound. King Charles's final act had never been about preparing Britain for a new reign. It had been about giving his family one last chance to choose love over resentment, unity over division, and hope over fear. William walked away beside Catherine, not feeling like a future king, but simply a son determined to honor his father's legacy. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.